Hey everybody, this is Captain from reporting for duty, giving you my weekly comic book review for June 21st, 2023. All right, thank you everybody for joining me today. I just want to apologize ahead of time if you hear a little bit of background noise because my air conditioner's on. If I don't have that on, it's going to get piping hot here, and I'm going to be one sweaty mess by the time I'm done with this. So please bear with me. I have my noise cancellation and everything on to the best I can without cutting up too much signal, so I'm going to try to do the best that I can here. So those of you who are unfamiliar, what I like to do is review the comic books I choose to each week. I don't look for ones that are necessarily turds just to dunk on them or only the best. I try to get a good grouping of comic books. That way I can serve the general grouping of them all. On top of that, I grade them with the score of 0 through 7, 7 being average, like a 70% in school. So you're going to find more in the 7 point something range, which makes sense because that would be average. You're also going to hear my notes. Now, normally I do do them top 3 and bottom 3, but I'm not doing that due to time restraints right now. I am really been busy, so I'm just trying to do it the best I can with the time I have. But I do also use League of Comic Geeks. Once again, that's leagueofcomicgeeks.com, and I give you their synopsis as well, so you can compare my views to others. And speaking about comparing views, let me know your views. If you disagree, you agree. Just try to be kind. We'd like to have this as a community. Well, my goal here is sort of like taking us back in time, if you will, the old time machine, taking us back when we could have several of us all sitting at a table discussing comic books, what we like, what we don't like, and guess what? We're allowed to have different opinions without calling each other names and being mean. We are allowed to think a book sucks. We're allowed to think a book is great, and that's okay, because if your opinion differs than mine, that's okay too. You're allowed to be wrong. All right, with that, just jumping in, the first book I'm going to review is Batgirls number 19. I gave the book a 7.04 out of 10. League of Comics Geeks gave it a 3.9 average rating out of 5 stars, with a 42 out of 49 liking it. Said the people of the Hill have had enough of Gun Bunny and Gun Hawk's demands and take to the streets to march in solidarity with the Batgirls. Moved by this, the Batgirls join in, providing to both the city and the snipers that Gothamites should not be underestimated. Really, they joined in because they're trying to catch the snipers. And that we can overcome the darkest of times if we each have each other. This series ends with this here, and this story is pretty much an anti-gun ownership story, a little pandering, so you take that as you will. Becky Cloolan was the writer, as well as Michael Conrad and artist Robbie Rodriguez. I will say that it was decent artwork. Last few issues had better artwork than most of the series that did. We have some really ironic dialogue in this. The writer is ignorant and is clearly in an echo chamber about her views, yet that she projects her views and things onto this character, Gun Bunny. This really has cliche writing from a perspective view. What I mean by that is my opinion. A comic book doesn't have to necessarily not get political. I don't believe that comics were never political, but I do believe they had better writing. And what I mean by that is often, and you get some ham-fisted ones, but often the good ones, when they delved into political things, they gave a bit of insight on both sides and allowed you to come up with a decision, and that's where it made it interesting. Whereas sometimes we did have some that were completely ham-fisted, don't get me wrong, and those usually didn't really stand the test of time. But if you look at the issues that stand the test of time, or you can go back to them today, if you will, and read them, you're like, oh yeah, this was a good issue. But it was a decent ending to the series. So once again, a 7.04, nothing spectacular. I don't think you're going to be missing anything if you skip the whole Batgirl series. It wasn't any time that great. All right, the next one, speaking of great, is World's Finest issue number 16. I gave this an 8.8 out of 10. 191 out of 193 liked it on League of Comics Geeks with a 4.5 average rating. So I think we're right in line there that this book has been fantastic. Batman and Superman versus the Machines. Yeah, we got some AI stuff here, right? It's pretty cool. I'm not going to get into all the story, but we got a lot of characters in this. We have Metamorpho, element, man. We get to see some of the robot kind of characters. Pretty cool. Mark Waid knocked it out of the park in the writing with this. The art is also good with Dan Mora. So really, really good. And this says a lot because I'm trying to keep my bias out. I've said this before and I won't lie. I'm not a fan of this writer for his viewpoints and how outspoken and rude of a jerk he can be. But I have to give him credit when credit's due. It's good art, good characterization, good banter in this, fun story. Any DC fan should be reading this series. I really mean that. Great book. You're missing out if you don't. All right, the next DC title I'm going to jump to is Black Adam number 12, where I gave this book a 7 out of 10. This is the final issue in this limited series. 21 out of 23 liked it, though, with a 3-point average rating on League of Comics Geeks. This is the ending of this run, and I think it had good art. But I consistently think that this series went probably at least 4 issues too long. It moved too slowly. It was really, really padded. In all honesty, I can't recommend this, which is sad because Christopher Priest wrote it and Eddie Barrows drew it. The art was pretty good, and I tend to like Christopher Priest writing, but this one just did not work for me. And I don't know, maybe it works for you. I didn't care for much of any of it, the ending or anything. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I'm really interested in your thoughts. Did you read Black Adam? It doesn't look like a whole lot of people are or did read this, so I'm really interested in your views. All right, the next book I want to jump right into is Nightwing issue 105. Yep, I gave this book a 7.2 out of 10. This book has been consistently mid, in my opinion. That means not bad and not great. But 194 out of 214 liked it on League of Comics Geeks with a 4 average rating, which is probably a little higher. Actually, not probably. It is a little higher than what I've given it. Mastermind's Tom Taylor, I wouldn't really call him a mastermind, and Bruno Redondo are back at it again to present Nightwing fans another special issue, uniquely designed for them to be Nightwing for a day. I don't really get that, but the oversized story will feature Nightwing from his point of view, allowing readers to use this you know that thing, his sticks, and leap through Bloodhaven. I didn't find it really to be that unique and that special in that regard, but that said, I thought it was a decent art story. It has some fun banter in it as well, and it really overall was a decent issue, so I'll give it up to Tom Taylor and Bruno on that one. Once again, nothing super spectacular in my opinion, but it was an alright book. All right, going next here. Let me go to my notes. I'm going to change my pages here. Oh, okay. This one, the more I sit on it and think about it, I tend to want to change my score on it that I gave it, because I don't tend to think I didn't give it enough credit. And that's Superman number 5. League of Comics Geeks at 244 or out of 249 liked it with a 4.6 average rating. I only gave it a 7.3. But as I think about the issue, and I sometimes do this, I'll read all the issues and I think, which one stuck with me? Which story really stuck out as, being a little bit ahead of the rest? And I think this was one. I gave it a 7.3, but as I think about it more and more, I probably would move it more up to around a 7.9. I thought the book had a good story. The art, though, is where I get hit a little bit. I'm not still sold on this art style. It's not bad, but it's not nothing I would go and leap over tall buildings with. Get the little hint there, the pun intended. It has a great ending in this issue as well. I really liked it, and it makes you want to read more of the series. And I think that's a good sign of writing. You enjoyed it as you get done. When you're finished, you're like, ooh, I want to read the next one. And that's one of the reasons why, once again, I have to bump up above my original thoughts. And because it just did. As I kept thinking about it, I was like, man, yeah, it makes me want to read the next issue. It was a good, solid story. And so I was like 7.3, and then I started going, maybe it's a 7.9. And you know what? Actually, it might even be low 8s for me. As I continue to think about it, I like it more and more. We have Silver Banshee's back and more dangerous than ever, but not really by her own choice. She's given a massive power upgrade by Lex Luthor's enemy currently. And we get a love story here, a nice tale here from Joshua Williamson as the writer, the artist Jamal Campbell. And I think they did a really good job. If you have not been reading the Superman series, I think you're missing out, and this series deserves to give Superman a try. Superman has, I think, been a neglected character for a lot of years now. People just see him as mid, and they don't really take the time to see what this kind of character's books can really do. All right, my next one was Titans number 2. I gave it a 7.35. Out of the Shadows Part 2. 187 out of 218 liked it with a 3.7 average rating. The A Titan's murdered. Yeah, they left us with that from the issue 1. We're thinking Wally West bit the dust, but here's the thing. Wally West is here. Yeah, it's a really interesting time-dealing issue where he comes from the future to warn that he's going to be killed, and then the story progresses from there. The story, I will say, is better than I expected. The art has been solid. Beast Boy, I think, was written really well in this issue, showing a lot of care and passion from that character. We have a classic team book here. And I think the long story, what I mean by that is it has a long range story, and it also has some short stories in between as well, some character issues and stories within that team as well. And this is somewhat reminds me of classic Avengers tales. You would have the same thing. You have to have some character dysfunction and things to keep it interesting. So I have to give Tom Taylor credit here. Good move for his writing there. Artist Nicola Scott, good job. Overall, it's been a pretty good book. We'll see if it can continue. I'm not usually a big fan of Tom Taylor, so we will see if he can continue to keep this up. But until then, not a bad start. Now I'm going to jump to a Marvel book, The Incredible Hulk #1. I didn't know what to expect of this series here. I gave it a 7.25. The League of Comics Geeks gave it 198 out of 203 liked it. With a 4.4 average rating, so they give it a higher rating than I did. The Age of Monsters has begun. As an enraged Hulk tries to take control of Bruce Banner's body permanently, a mysterious immortal turns every monster in the Marvel Universe against Banner in an attempt to free the creator. Yeah, interesting. And it actually is. I'm digging that. It's an interesting story. The art is fitting, I think. It has sort of a style that I think is going to fit this story. It looks like we're getting Hulk back into sci-fi horror again, where we left a little bit of that to just go sci-fi, where I thought we had a little bit maybe too much sci-fi horror before that. With the Immortal Hulk, I think it went a little longer than it needed to, but I think with this direction, it might be pretty good. So Philip Kennedy Johnson was the writer, artist Nick Klein, and I think they're off to a pretty solid start. We'll continue to see how it goes. I'm not going to say it's going to be my favorite Hulk story, but I will say I'm not disappointed. I think it's off to a better start than the previous one. All right, this next one, I thought I'd try something that's pretty new out of the gate. We haven't seen something like this in a while. It's Ultimate Invasion #1. I gave it a 7.1. The transformation of the Marvel Universe begins. Superstar creators, I don't know about that, Jonathan Hickman and Brian Hitch team up. I always tend to think that Jonathan Hickman tends to pad too much and takes too long to get to the point and makes things too big and doesn't really stick a great ending. But that's just me. What are your thoughts on Hickman's writing? Or maybe we're getting in this issue, instead of destroying the universe, perhaps building it again. We have Miles Morales at the center of it because, they have to try to push Miles Morales. Now, here's the thing. This won't happen, but I would love to see this. I think it'd be a great idea to have this alternate Reed Richards start a new universe, get that, and move Miles to that universe permanently. Now, this is not a mean thing. Hear me out here. When we had the Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe, he was the only Spider-Man there. It made sense. He stuck out. He was unique then in that regard. When we moved Miles to the 616, now he's just another Spider-Man. Even using the same name, Spider-Man, he loses what makes him special. And I think by putting him back in the Ultimate Universe, that would be for the betterment of all. But that's just my thoughts. Where do you want to see Miles? Do you want to see Miles dead? Do you want to see Miles in the 616? Do you want to see Miles in a new Ultimate Universe? I'd like to know. Once again, the writer is Jonathan Hickman. Brian Hitch was the penciler. I gave it a 7.10, as I said. So it's off to an okay start. We're 249 and 257 liked it with a 4.3 average rating on the League of Comics Geeks. So they gave it a pretty good one. Let's see what this ultimate version, evil version of Mr. Fantastic tends to do. When you got a super smart guy like that, that's really a lot of danger involved. So it's pretty interesting. Next one I went to is a series that I've been debating on whether to continue getting or not, but I chose to get it because the last issue I thought was an improvement, and that was Venom issue #21, where I gave it a 7.02, 55 out of 58 liked it, with a 4.3 average rating. Not your father's Bedlam, as Eddie Brock finds his footing in the Marvel Universe. He's going to need to come face to face with the very worst parts of himself in the form of the time-displaced monster called Bedlam. Eddie's always been his own most brutal critic, though, and this titanic beatdown will be no exception. Something new will be waiting on the other side of this issue as well, and it's written by Al Ewing and artist Cafu. And here's the thing, I thought the art was good. I thought there was a lot of action in this issue. There was some cheesy dialogue though, and there wasn't anything really super special here, but like last issue, I think this is good enough to maybe keep me checking it out a little longer. So nothing that's rocking my world, but nothing that says this is so bad I need to drop it. All right, the next one, The Avengers #2. I gave it a 7.21. 167 out of 169 liked it though on League of Comics Geeks with a 4.2 average rating. The Avengers find themselves with a rare gift, the knowledge of people that are in dangers that are going to be coming to them, leading to deaths because of Kang. Yeah, Kang. Can you believe that? A dying Kang. Can they be saved? And this new series of Avengers is being led by none other than Captain Marvel, because yes, we've got to pump her up for that movie now. But with that said, I don't really have any negativity against her for the leading role of for this position. Neither do I necessarily have anything against the team. It's a pretty decent lineup team with some classic Avengers and some versions not so classic, but well done. Jed McKay is the writer, the artist is Carlos Villa, and I will say the art was decent. The story is evolving and it's not bad. Not bad at all, and it's really not a bad issue. It's a decent issue. There might be the problem there. Everything is decent, nothing super special, and henceforth why it gets a 7.21 from me. And it seems like the League of Comic Geeks gave it a little higher score than me, and that's okay. If you did too, why did you give it a higher score than I gave it? I'm curious there. Next one I want to talk about is Bloodline, Daughter of Blade, #5. 17 out of 19 liked it with a 3.8 average rating, where I gave it a 7.01. This is the ending of this little miniseries, so I don't want to get too much into it, okay? But I will say it did sidestep some of my preconceived thoughts that might turn into complete garbage by the traditional Marvel thing of pushing down a male character or any kind of character to push up the next one. Maybe they didn't do it because Blade is black, right? And then they could get some heat from that. I don't know. Maybe they actually respected the character, which I think they somewhat did here. Danny Lord was the writer, artist Karen S. Darbo, and a colorist Chris Peter. My thoughts, though, is this. I'm not a fan of this art style. It really seems like it's going for that young adult, new kind of art style generation that isn't necessarily for me. It was a decent story and a decent ending. Nothing I'd say, okay, you have to run out and get this. But if you're a Blade fan and you like to see what's next, you could probably pick this up and trade. It'd probably be worth it to you. If not, it's not one that I would say you have to have. You can skip it if you choose to. You won't miss anything major. Just know that Blade has a daughter, and that's really all you need to know to be caught up, and that she's training to be taking out vampires and things as well. Now, another issue here. It seems like this series of characters has been gaining traction again in the Marvel Universe. We have Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider, issue #2. I gave it a 7.4. League of Comics Geeks said 14 out of 17 liked it with a 3.7 average rating. Now, what that tells me right there, 14 out of 17, is this is not off to a powerful start. A lot of people are not getting this, which is really quite a shame, because I like them building the Ghost Rider universe. In this, we meet the Broker. The new adversary is boosting the powers of Ghost Rider's enemies. But what is his ultimate goal? And what does it have to do with Danny Ketch? And yes, Johnny Blaze. We get Johnny Blaze in this series too. Howard Mackey is the writer. Artist Daniel sorry, I'm going to butcher that name. Okay. And here's the thing though, overall, I thought it was good art. Yeah, good art, good story. Marvel seems to be pushing the Ghost Riders, which makes me wonder why. Are they building up for a Ghost Rider television series, another Ghost Rider movie? What are they planning on doing? I don't have a problem with that. I'd like to see that. Let's get these characters used more. The series, in my opinion, is off to a solid start with good pacing. Sadly, it just doesn't seem to be pushing much in the sales. I don't care for it as much as the other current Ghost Rider series, don't get me wrong, but it's only issue 2 and the story's evolving. I think it is worth a shot. All right, those are the issues that I read. So I know I didn't read everything, so let me know what I missed, what I should have read, and what your thoughts are too. I would love to hear them. I want to say too, before I go, thank you to all these people here. Without these people, truly this would not be possible. These people have been supporting this channel for a long time, and it has been a complete blessing. Thank you so much. You might not have the financial means to help support channel, like, subscribe, and all that stuff will help too. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, keep it frugal and have a blessed day.